Thanks very much, Mark.
You'll be entertained, I'm sure. He's got 3 minutes. Your turn's coming.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much for having us all here today. I can't let Mark get away with this one now. At every single session we've had, he sung a song. And you heard the same song today. I have one wish, and my wish is that the property market succeeds. If not, he follows his second love into singing, and I strongly suspect he might become a statistic on TPN. Birthday boy. With that introduction, I'm not quite sure I even know where to start. But let me start at the beginning, which is the name of our company, PAYM8. Strange name. We are called everything. PAYM8, Pay8. And I've got a chairman who's 86 years old, who very often will introduce me to a colleague or friend. And he'll say, I'd like to introduce you to Andrew. Andrew runs our business, and the company's name is PAYM8. So we are called everything. What do we do? We see ourselves as a specialist payments company. We're based in Johannesburg. We cover the country from end to end. There's users here of our system. And primarily we deal in mobile commerce and e-commerce, as well as in the collections market. Now, I need to take a breath and just talk a little bit about that. What do I mean by a payments company, or rather, what do you think I mean by that? Primarily because most of us would walk into a Pick and Pay and effect a payment when you buy your groceries or Checkers or whatever. Essentially, my distinction between what I do and what a payment gateway offering something to Pick and Pay would do is the profile of the payer, i.e., in a Pick and Pay or Checkers, the payer is present. Okay? With our solutions, we generally deal with payers or debtors that are not present. So I'll offer solutions for the payer or for businesses who require their customers to pay, who typically are not at the point of sale. Fair enough. As I mentioned, we're cross-continent, and our speciality is, or rather our vision, is to create a single touch point into this world of payment. We'd like customers to be able to come in through a single touch point, multiple user interfaces, mobile if you like, internet if you like, USSD, SMS, you name it, and you can get into our solution, which will in turn offer you access to a broad variety of payment streams and solutions and transactions. Okay. The mobile and online solutions speak for themselves, typically payment via mobile phone, payment over the internet, but primarily I believe that the one that affects this group is the collections side of the market. Now, is collections a payment? It is. You might be collecting from somebody, but your customer, your tenant, your debtor is making a payment to you. Okay. So what we do is we offer multiple transaction types as well as workflow solutions. And behind all of those workflow solutions and transaction types are a multitude of transactions. Debtors want variety. Merchants, property companies need variety. Debtors pay differently. Some debtors want to pay by credit card. Some debtors want to pay by debit order. Sometimes you want a debtor to pay by an early debit order. Okay, so we have multiple transaction types, all making the life of the merchant, the property company, the landlord easier. That's what we do. If I may, just elaborate a little bit on the transaction types, because they're quite important, especially I think in your industry. We have what is known as a EDO transaction. That's at the bottom there. That acronym stands for early debit order. The particular transaction type behind that we offer is the NADO. It's called non-authenticated early debit order. And essentially that is a debit order where a customer has signed a mandate allowing you to debit his account. The only difference between that and a normal debit order is this particular transaction gets preference at a bank. So it's the first deduction after the salary credit that happens on a monthly basis, or that happens on numerous days, depending on when the person's paid. Okay, so it's a very important aspect in terms of a transaction type. We offer a normal debit order, the ability to debit an account, also driven by customer mandate. we offer a transaction called paid. This typically is a mobile phone authenticated transaction. What do I mean by that? Remember I said to you that in many instances the debtor, the tenant, the payee is not present. How can he use his mobile phone to effect a payment? What we're able to do is to come up, give a call center agent as an example, the ability to phone the tenant or the debtor and say to the tenant, debtor, you owe some money. The debtor says yes. What does he typically say? I'll make a deposit tomorrow. I'll come into your offices. The call center agent is able to turn around to the debtor and say, not acceptable. To avoid further legal action, we need a payment from you immediately. We're able to do a debit against a debit card and a debit against a credit card, using the mobile phone as the authentication device in real time. Okay, so it's quite an important transaction. In your folders, you'll have some notes on these transactions as well, so please just refer to those. And then there's a recurring payment transaction. This particular transaction was, it's been around for a while, primarily an overseas-based transaction, or rather more commonly used overseas. FNB approached us and asked us to develop it for them. And essentially what this transaction offers you is the ability to allow a customer to pay by credit card on a recurring basis. Now, what would happen today is if you had a debtor, customer, tenant, paying by credit card, you would have to go to him on a monthly basis and collect that detail. And the reason behind that is that you're not allowed to store cardholder detail. A lot of it is sensitive. You can't take my card detail and store my CVV, my 3-digit PIN on the back, etc. So what we've now done is we've got the card associations to accept a flagged indicator that says this is a recurring payment transaction, allow it to be processed on a repetitive basis for as long as the deal is in place. Okay, so you can now pay by credit card over a long period of time without going outbound to your debtor once again. Okay, so it offers variety. Why would tenants, debtors want to pay by credit card? For numerous reasons. A, they don't get charged interest in many instances, providing they pay within 30 or 40 days. B, they earn e-bucks from FNB if they use their credit card, and they can earn Voyager miles and. So the ability is for us to look at merchants' requirements and offer variety. Then there's just your straightforward internet-based debit and credit card transactions and a transaction that's happening outside of South Africa, which is a real-time debit. Not going to happen again. Okay, PAYM8's credentials. Many of you will understand that it's a highly regulated environment, and clearly if your tenant, customer, cardholder details are compromised, you're going to be in deep trouble. We need to be certified to ensure that that type of thing is constantly checked. PCI, which is a payment card industry association, do remote testing from an international venue into our systems, constantly seeing if they can penetrate firewalls and things like that. You need to be assured that if you're going to partner with a payments partner, that they meet the criteria or meet the grade. That's a prerequisite. We're approved by Visa and MasterCard by default. We're registered with the Payments Association of South Africa and Namibia, as well as in Botswana. I got a brief from Hanno, who is a convert, obviously, in the property market, but more so in the rental market. He believes we're at the bottom or at the beginning of a massive rental boom in this country. His brief to me was, talk about innovation. That's what you need to convince the audience, that there is a room for innovation in terms of taking this forward in the rental market. Well, I had to start and find out what innovation meant in terms of doing a comparison between innovation and invention. Invention, the creation of an idea, product, or methodology. Innovation, the implementation, or rather making more efficient or better that same idea, product, or methodology. So that was the basis, that was the brief that Hanno gave me. As I mentioned to you, rental market, he believes, is about to offer massive potential. Landlords are taking management onto themselves. He has a specific need, and that is to promote Realty One and he can only do it if his value proposition to that landlord makes enough sense that they would move away from managing their properties themselves back to a specialist company that offers a special and effective solution. Make life simpler for landlords, rental companies, and tenants. The priority is improve the collections, and that's where we come in. See if you can increase your collection rate, make it more successful. We were approached along with Realty One. They had a property rental solution, and we had to come up with a sophisticated and seamless processing in the collections of monies due, which we duly did. What do I mean by that? And Realty One are offering this at the moment. It's a very customizable property administration system. All the bells and whistles, end-to-end management, completely integrated with the admin system. So you can run, as a landlord, an administration or a number of properties with an administration system with all the necessary reports, bells and whistles. The specific points are made there. My role was to come up and integrate a collections engine into that system. Hannah provide the system, open integration, Andrew do the integration into the system and make sure it works. Please, he added. And we did just that. We've simplified tenant collections, and there's evidence to prove that. And as I said, there's been a dramatic improvement in the success rate of monies collected. An industry first is what we created, where we've simplified the life of the landlords and property companies. Supporting evidence. We give access to the national payment system, and probably the most important thing from a business perspective is to facilitate a fully reconcilable process of the bank statement to the administration system, okay, to what we say off our collections engine. They need to tie back. The process needs to be simple. You can't expect an accountant sitting looking at a cash book and saying, there's money in my account, where does it come from? So there has to be cross-referencing done, and it needs to reconcile between the bank statement, the admin system, and PAYM8's collection system, and it does. "15 months ago, we launched this with Realty One. There's a number of users in this part of the world. I know Mark is one of them. Mark is paid to say that it's 10 minutes, Mark. Mark is paid to say that it's been a success, but jokes aside, you guys will know him as a local here, and he's a tremendously honest chap that I've worked out for myself. The system works, and it's improved his life tremendously. So in conclusion, we offer businesses, not just in the property market, but across the board. Clever, smart solutions that give you access to the national payment system, multiple transaction types, event-driven workflow solutions. An event can trigger off a workflow, which will allow a specific transaction to be activated. Customizable solutions with simple integration abilities. I can integrate to most admin systems out there. And as I said, probably most importantly, a fully reconcilable process. Okay, thank you very much for your time.